Hi everyone, I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, brought to you every Monday to Thursday by these guys, Lay of the Land. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get into the brief. I do have a new camera, so it will take a while to get the resolution and everything just right. So please bear with me, and I know that I'm in good company. I know that I am in kind company, and I'll figure it out. And if not, I know you guys are certainly going to help me. Today is an Israel Brief with a difference. I want to speak to you about the event of the last couple of days. It is a devastating time in Israel. I'm going to fill you in on that. There is no audience question for today, but rest assured everything will be back tomorrow. So let's get into the top stories, and it has been 2 days of absolute agony in Israel. Yesterday, 1st of September, first day of Stav or autumn here in the Northern Hemisphere, a day that we expected to see our children off to start the new school year. And we woke up to the devastating news that the bodies of 6 hostages had been recovered from a tunnel in the Gaza Strip. Now here I want to address and I don't even have polite words for them, the people who post about these recoveries and post rumors online, because at least one of these families found out about their loved one, not in the gentle way that the IDF would break the news to them, but through rumors on social media. So if you do happen to see anybody posting ridiculous stuff that hasn't been cleared by the IDF or announced by the families, please report it, because it causes devastation for families. So we woke up to the news coming in that 6 of our beloved hostages had been found dead inside a tunnel in Rafah. Now, according to Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, he is the IDF chief spokesperson. He says, and I'm going to read to you directly from his press brief. He says, according to our initial assessment, they were brutally murdered by Hamas terrorists shortly before we reached them. And it is believed they were found about a mile away from where Farhan al-Qadi, who was rescued last week in an intensive operation, was found. And the hostages are as follows. Hirsch Goldberg Polin. Now Hirsch and his incredible parents, John and Rachel, have really been the faces of the hostages. We all feel like Hirsch and the whole family are part of our families, because we have seen Rachel, and I spoke to you on Thursday. I read to you her incredible love, standing at the border with Gaza saying, Hirsch, it's Mama. We are working to free you all. And to find out that on day 331, he was found murdered, along with Alexander Lubanov, whose wife gave birth to their second baby while he was in captivity, who will never meet his second baby. Carmel Gat, a beloved yoga teacher from Kibbutz Be'eri. Almog Sarusi, and the images of Almog's father and his raw grief at his funeral yesterday, I think is an image that will stay in my mind forever. Eden Yerushalmi, a beautiful young woman whose only crime was that she was a bartender at a music festival. And Ori Danino, who we know double-backed a few times to help evacuate people at the Nova Festival and saved many lives. It is absolute devastation. Several of them have already been laid to rest. Carmel and Hirsch will be laid to rest a little later today. So what we do know, according to the autopsy results, is that they were murdered at close range, very, very shortly before being discovered, about 48 hours or so. They were held hostage by Hamas for 331 days. We still now have 101 hostages. Today is day 332. And Israel, as you can imagine, erupted into a day of absolute naked and raw grief, devastation, and anger. A lot of anger. Coupled with this, yesterday there was a shooting attack just outside Hebron in the West Bank, and 3 police were killed at close range, including a police officer whose daughter was killed defending the Sderot police station on the 7th of October. To say that we are devastated is an understatement. I'm speaking to you today without a script, just from my heart. Yesterday and today, for many of us in Israel, feels like the 8th of October. As it is, we are trying to get through these horrendous days of war and devastation. But yesterday took us right back to the 8th of October, and the grief is naked and raw. Last night, hundreds of thousands of Israelis took to the streets in Tel Aviv, here in Modi'in, in Jerusalem, and all across the country, protesting the government. Now, I've seen and I've received some messages from people saying, are we seeing the anti-government protests starting up again? And I think it's a mixture of things. I think, first of all, people are frustrated and angry and hurting. And the only people we really can express our naked, raw grief to is the government. We also would like them to reach some kind of agreement, a ceasefire, where we can see the release of our hostages. We have heard from the upper echelon of the security establishment that a deal is the only thing that will bring them home, and if need be, to compromise on issues like Philadelphia, because we've done enough damage to Hamas, and if need be, we re-enter the strip and we complete our war goals. It is just so palpable how devastated, and I'm using that word a lot, and extremely intentionally, how we are feeling in Israel. Now, while this is happening, we still have rockets and drones being fired by Hezbollah at the north. We still have our army in the south, in the Gaza Strip. While this is still going on, Israel, in partnership with the World Health Organization and UNICEF, is rolling out a polio vaccination campaign to vaccinate children in Gaza against polio. We remember that there are 2 children still stuck in Gaza who have no access to polio vaccines. Kfir Bibas and Ariel Bibas, held now for 332 days. It's like living right now in a constant pressure cooker scenario in Israel, living through a war. I know so many of you empathize and you're hurting along with us, but to be here is an experience completely different to anywhere else. In response to all of this, and to try and impress the importance of a deal, the National Labour Union declared a day of striking. So today we have seen mass strikes across the country, including in transport. Major companies, restaurants closed their businesses last night. Health professionals are striking, and Israelis have taken to the streets all across the country to demand some kind of ceasefire agreement, some kind of hostage deal that would see the remaining 101 hostages released. From what we know from the coroner, our 6 beautiful souls who were so brutally murdered were murdered at close range, execution style, with a bullet to the head, that at least one of them was tied up. And what hurts so badly is that at least 3 of them were part of the deal that is on the table to negotiate. The brutal murder of our hostages which incidentally the mainstream media is calling they were found dead or they were declared dead. They weren't declared dead, they were murdered, brutally murdered. Please get that right. This has been condemned by the Chancellor of Austria, by President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, and Republican nominee Donald Trump have all roundly condemned this, expressing their outrage, their dismay, their absolute devastation. We know that Kamala Harris has spoken, and her husband Doug Emhoff have spoken to the Goldberg-Polin family. I think President Biden has as well. The Prime Minister of Canada has expressed his outrage. Quite interestingly, he's the only world leader that hasn't called for a ceasefire but demanded that Hamas surrenders. So unusually strong language coming from Prime Minister Trudeau. The UK Prime Minister and Foreign Secretary have expressed their outrage, their dismay, their disgust and their heartbreak. The President of France and various other world leaders as well. It is an incomprehensible situation that we are sitting in right now. And in less than an hour, we will lay Hirsch Goldberg-Polin to rest. We are all familiar with Hirsch, whose arm was blown off at the elbow when a grenade was thrown into the shelter where he was hiding, along with so many others, and he was taken hostage from there. I don't know what else to say other than we are shattered. We are trying to make sense of a situation that we cannot make sense of. That I think many of us are having crises of faith. And that we cannot comprehend how so many across social media platforms are celebrating this. Naturally, they'll probably deny it tomorrow, but they have been celebrating this. So I thank you for your patience in what has been a very, very different Israel brief. But what I aim to do here is not just to bring you the news headlines, but to also, on days like today where our emotions are so raw and so painful, is to express to you what we are feeling here, because it's the story you're not going to get in your media. The outrage yesterday at seeing mainstream media outlets like CNN, Sky News, BBC and others referring to our hostages as died. They didn't die, they were murdered. Prime Minister Netanyahu has leveled the blame squarely at Hamas, saying those who murder hostages don't want deals. I don't know where we go from here, but I do know that Israelis are defiantly resilient. We will put one foot in front of the other and try to carry on. I actually expressed on social media that people see us and marvel at our resilience, but the truth is we are all broken. We all feel like a vase that has been put back together, but the cracks are still there and can shatter at any time. But this is Israel, and sadly we are used to war. We are used to terror. Our love, our prayers, our overwhelming support are with all of these families as they navigate through this horrendous situation. I thank you all for your patience as I have rambled on today. Tomorrow we will be back to normal. I just want to remind you that you can find us online at www.layoftheland.online, our YouTube page or our YouTube right here at the Israel Brief. We are on Facebook at Lottel's site, on Instagram on my page, at Raylene Marks, and on X at Lay of the Land 5. Guys, take care of yourselves and each other today more than ever. Hug your loved ones. I thank you for your support and for putting up with me. I love you all a lot, and I will speak to you tomorrow. Bye for now.